Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Trina Stutzman, author and holistic life coach who helps leaders prioritize the health of their body, mind, and spirit in order to thrive in life and business. Welcome to the show, Trina.
Thank you, AJ. It's a pleasure to join your audience this morning and meet your community. So thank you for having me on your show.
Wonderful. You're welcome to the show. And I'm sure a lot of people will benefit, not just in India, but also across the globe to many places that this show is maybe seen as well as heard in the coming days. So we'll be talking about, how to overcome people pleasing. So first to understand from you, Trina, is that what is people pleasing? Means we are social animals and we want to do things that brings a smile to others faces. So how does that is that different than the people pleasing, which can be detrimental to our health, growth, and relationships?
You're right. We are wired for connection, and I believe that. And I think where people pleasing can get us in trouble is when we prioritize it. We will prioritize other people's approval over our own feelings. It's kind of like that bargain for love. If I keep you happy, then you'll love me. And I think that's where we get into trouble. And I know for me, I grew up in a tight religious community where we all had to kind of fit the mold and had to kind of go along to get along and to be different or to be ourselves. There was a cost. Maybe we didn't feel like we would belong if we didn't act and be like the tribe. So yeah, it can get to be sticky when we kind of lose ourselves in that and we kind of people please as a bargain for love.
Okay. So in short, how does one know that this person is a people pleaser? Are there any particular characteristics of somebody, so that even individual can also do that self introspection and just see that if they don't fall into that category themselves?
I think one thing that for me in my journey was just being aware of the unbalanced relationships that I had, where people felt like I was always the giver and they were the taker. And we know that we have a lot of takers in our lives where, they if we don't have boundaries or if we don't have a sense of self, we can just kind of blend in and mold in and just go along with the crowd and not really have, have a self. I've kind of been accused that I teach selfishness. That's not really what I'm about. I really teach having a self. And so I think, what I like to say is, are you overworked? Are you overwhelmed? Do you overgive? I think there's always necessary sacrifice we do in relationships. But if we find ourselves in a place where we're extremely unhappy, we're stretched too thin, we're giving kind of from an empty cup and we have nothing to offer others because we haven't replenished ourselves. We haven't given ourselves as much attention and love as we do others. So I think it's just being mindful of where you may be overly accommodating and overly giving.
Right. So how do we look at the people pleasing part? Is it the same rules that applies at home, with friends, or even in workplace? How does it work? Or is it that there has to be a difference with the way we see things? Because in office, if you are, say, reporting to a boss, and the boss is of a particular type, he or she wants things to be done in a particular manner, so you always ensure that this is the way you will do it. Otherwise the boss may not find your output very happy or pleasing to their eyes. So how do you look at that? And at home, even some people, like in relationships, some people are very, say, uh, very organized, and the other person is not. So sometimes, one person may just try to be like husbands. Several times they try to make sure that this is, you don't do anything that is going to disturb the peace of mind of your wife, and it's a very healthy relationship. But you still try and do those things so that not to irritate the other person in any manner. So how should one look at these things, and then find that difference, that okay, it is bordering on people pleasing, and this is not the general thing that we are doing, both in terms of personal life as well as in workplaces.
Yeah, that's a big question, but I think getting clear about what you value, and I often say, what works and what doesn't work for you is a good indication. So at home, maybe you have a person in your home that isn't organized, but if you value what works for you is kind of that um, clean, structured environment, then I'm going to maybe give in that area because quite frankly, it benefits me if my environment is different. So, and I think also in the workplace,
Okay.
I've had to deal with that where you may have a difference in work styles, and I had to leave a work situation that wasn't healthy for me. It didn't work. I wasn't happy with what was expected of me, and you don't always know that until you're in the job. So I think it's important that you get clear on what your values are. And I know for me, when I say that I teach having a self, I didn't know what my values were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. But I think as I've gotten to know myself better and have realized that self-awareness is self-knowledge, and self-knowledge is power, we get to decide some of those things and find situations that are healthier, because as a people pleaser we can allow other people to steal our health and steal our happiness if we let them.
Okay, okay. Why do we try to please people? Is it because we are afraid of them? Is it that we are the ones who are needy? Or we are afraid? Sometimes it can happen, that, okay, you have no other way to go. That's the only way to keep your boss happy, to keep your people around you, keep your friends happy, that peer group happy. And then, yeah, at the end, you become unhappy, but that perhaps it's later on. But in terms of your needs, you perhaps think that, okay, these are the people who are fulfilling your needs. So how do you one look at that, and how do you start coming out of that, so that you actually are not dependent on somebody else, but actually you are living freely the way you want to, the way one should be? How should we look at this?
Well, I think a lot of it is we're afraid to lean into that conflict. We're conflict avoid. Many of us are conflict avoidant, and
Right.
we're uncomfortable. I say the first step in overcoming people pleasing is start to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Okay.
Don't try to overcome people pleasing if you're not willing to get uncomfortable. You will get extremely uncomfortable. It will create a lot of anxiety, because we are wired to have, we it's nice to have people's approval, and we'll always want that to a degree because that's how we're wired. But also, when we let it rule our lives, we kind of have to be willing to change the dance, I say. And when we change the dance with how we relate to people, that's awkward and it's clumsy and it's uncomfortable, and it takes practice and it takes work to be comfortable with that uncomfortableness. But we know that growth happens when we're uncomfortable.
Right, right. But it's important sometimes. We got to at least draw the line somewhere, because it's not going to be good in the long run. You got to live your individual life, and in the rightful manner. But at the same time, uh, you say that, or if I understand correctly, is that people pleasers are liars. Is that true? How do we look at that part of it? Means,
Right.
how do we sympathize with them, or do we hate them? What do we do with them? Is it really so? Are they liars, or is it that they are struggling within themselves?
I think it was for me, and I'll just share that was a friend said to me, "People pleasers are liars," and it was kind of a wake up call, and it made me think about how honest I am. And of course, we everybody doesn't earn doesn't ever not everybody gets to. We don't have to share our truth with everyone. So make sure your audience knows that we don't have. Not everybody has earned
Right.
our respect, and we may not feel safe with them, and there are times that we do need to protect ourselves. But I just encourage people with safe people in their life, start to be a little bit more true talk. When when you have a preference, when you have a limit, when you have a deal breaker, speak up about it, because as people pleasers, others don't really know us. We're like chameleons. We're always adapting and changing, and it's hard for people to really know us. So I guess I just encourage people to be a little bit more genuine, a little bit more honest with safe people in your lives, so that you can start to, build that muscle of true talk, being true to who you are, because we really do suffer when we can't be ourselves. We suffer when we can't be ourselves.
Right, right. So, suppose if I want to take that journey of not being the people pleaser, if one thinks he or she is, then how do they start taking that first step? Is setting boundaries that first step, or is there another way? And second thing is, if people are, say, not trying to change themselves in terms of trying to live their good life and not to be a people pleaser, what would you like to tell them? What are they missing out in life, and what is it that they can they will get, what if they are not people pleasers, and what they will lose if they are not people pleasers
Mm.
anymore? How does
Mm.
it work?
Well, I'll start with your last question first. I think I believed that if I people pleased, my relationships would be better. I thought if I people pleased, I would have better relationships, and that was a lie. I had to recognize that people pleasing really kept me from deep, intimate relationships, because people didn't really know me. They knew some other version of me. And as I became a little bit more honest, a little bit more real and human, as they say, I allowed other people to really see me. And I think people pleasers can be those fixers in our lives, those people who take control and, um, you know, get us out of hard places. And uh, when I started to say that that doesn't work for me, or I can't do that, or um, I'm not available, then I think it was that starting to be more real and to be more honest. Um, how I would suggest people start. I don't expect them to. I would never coach anybody to start, putting up boundaries right away. But I would encourage them to start, their a new relationship with themselves, getting to know themselves. I have 4 children. I can remember when my second child was born, somebody said, "What do you like to do for fun?" And I couldn't answer that. And a couple of years later, somebody said, "What do you love? What do you love to do?" And I couldn't answer that. And I think I'm not saying women especially, but we can lose ourselves in our roles and our work. And so I really started to work at the relationship with myself. What do I like to do for fun? What do I like? What do I love? I knew what my kids loved to do, but I didn't know what I loved and what I enjoyed doing. And um, start start by having an opinion about things. I didn't even have opinions. So it's really about kind of nurturing that relationship with yourself. I would recommend journaling or writing or reflecting, letting your humanity out. Maybe you can't, true talk right away with people and friends in your life, but you can write it somewhere. Start to say, I don't want to. I don't have to. And start to see that you have choice and you have agency around things in your life, that you don't have to just go along to get along. Boundaries, I think, is phase two. Phase
Right.
one would be to really start to hone in on that relationship with yourself, and give yourself some of that same love and attention that you give other people. Start to give a little bit of that to yourself and bring it more back into balance.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have written this book, 12 Steps to Overcome People Pleasing. Tell us about this book, and how, what have you exactly dealt with in this book?
Yeah, this book is part my journey and part what I've learned and experienced and the wisdom that I have gained in my own journey. It's a take on the recovery movement. I'm a recovered people pleaser. So I wanted to kind of spell out in it's maybe not so simple as 12 steps, but these are kind of my beginning stages of how I started, and wanted to share with people my story. So each chapter is a little bit of my story. There's some reflection questions. There's a freedom toolkit, some little things to do, to think about, every day, or to practice. I really wanted to take a reader through an experience. The book is kind of like a magazine style, so I know people pleasers don't have I at least for me, I'll speak for myself, have a hard time finishing books. So it's a kind of book you can pick up and open and kind of glean a little nugget of truth and wisdom, and put it into practice. So it's a dance manual. How about that? I told you that it's a new dance to stop people pleasing. So it's a dance manual to learn some new steps, to become less clumsy and awkward, and to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
So where can people get this book of yours?
You can find it on Amazon, and local bookstores also can order it for you. So yes, very excited
Right.
about that book. It came out about a year ago, and I've had some great responses to it. And I think it's a topic that people are interested in exploring. And as one, I think one of your questions was, I think people pleasers can become resentful. We can have that martyrdom. I never get to do what I want. It's always about everybody else, and
Right.
resentment is powerful poison.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so it can cause resentment and unhappiness, and can affect our health. I'm a cancer survivor. That was a wake up call that I had in my early 30s, where I said, I have to change. Cement change for me. And I had to start speaking my voice, speaking my truth, speaking my voice. And so I would say resentment, health, and happiness are the, the causes of people pleasing. And then when we choose to do a different dance, I think we become more free. We become more free when we do the hard work of allowing other people to see us. And like I said, it's uncomfortable. There's also a lot of freedom and less suffering when we choose to value and love ourselves as much as we love and value other people.
Absolutely, absolutely. You filter out all the impurities out of the water of life and get only the good ones around you, around whom you can be truly happy. And those are the type of people you want around. That's what I can understand as it. It's almost like a journey of self-discovery, basically, if I understand it.
It really is. And I think what I want to add to that whole believing that our relationships improve when we people please, I feel like my relationships are much more mutual. There's a mutuality, and there's a reciprocal, and we can negotiate, and there's just a lot more health. Just a lot more health to my relationships as a result of and it's inspiring. I've inspired other people to step into hard conversations, and to lean in when we want to lean out, and we want to tune out instead of tuning in. So yeah, it's inspiring when I just had a coworker the other day that set a boundary with some friends, and I was just inspired by that. It's inspiring when people can say, you know what, no, that doesn't work for me, but I am willing to do this, or I am willing to do that. And I think sometimes we don't always have the communication tools to really step into those hard conversations that we need to have.
Absolutely, absolutely. You have dealt with this particular all my questions very very well, and I'm sure a lot of people will get more insights into such an important topic as this. So, but people need to always they always want to know more, and I'm not the right person for that. To know more, they will have to come to you. So, how do they connect with you? How do they know more about from you? And as well as people who may want to professionally engage with you as a client, or anything else in terms of a corporate, how do they do that?
Yeah, the best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I have a profile there, as well as Facebook and Instagram, Trina Stutzman. You can find me there. And yeah, I would love to connect. I do presentations and workshops on wellness topics, helping, as you mentioned in the intro, helping people prioritize their health, and that means the health of their body, mind, and spirit. So I think foundationally, when we feel our most alive and free selves, we bring our best to the people around us. And so I help people improve their well-being in order to help their companies and communities and families thrive. So thank you for allowing me to introduce myself to your community.
Wonderful, wonderful. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.